estimate that Father Emerson and I had 160 trick-or-treaters last night. It was great. A lot of different costumes, as you can imagine. A lot of Star Wars characters seem to be popular again. A lot of princesses, a lot of ninjas, and a few saints who were recognizable by their costumes. We had Virgin Mary, Saint Bernadette. We actually had two Saint Giannamolas. I was impressed. So the thing about recognizing saint costumes, we should be able to recognize saints, or at least saints in training, all the time. That's our responsibility, because that's what we're all called to. And so if you don't see that effort in the person sitting next to you, the person sitting next to you has some work to do. And if they don't see it in you, that's what you need to be concerned about. You should be preparing for heaven. All Saints Day. This is going to be your feast day someday. Unless you're such a great saint that the church actually canonizes you. That might happen to someone. But for most of us, this is our hope, to be included with all the saints. So, would our neighbors recognize us as someone who's striving for sainthood? They're recognizable in the first reading. We hear that they are sealed. That's how they recognize the 144,000. They've been sealed, so they've got some mark on their forehead, so it's very noticeable that these are saints. Well, we have all been sealed as well. We don't have a physical mark on our forehead, but we were sealed in baptism. And so we should live our lives in a way such that other people look at us and can identify that this person is a Christian. They have been sealed. They have been claimed for Christ. Those are the words that I use at baptism when I baptize a baby. I claim you for Jesus Christ by the sign of the cross, and I'll trace the cross on your forehead and invite your parents and godparents to do the same. So at baptism we are claimed, we receive that mark and that seal. But can anybody tell? Are we living it? The recipe for living a holy life is given to us in the gospel. I heard, actually preparing for this, I read something, a definition of a saint is someone who loves God more than they love themselves. I don't know how many of us would fall into that category. Of course, none of us are saints yet because we're not dead. But will we be able to say that? That we actually love God more than we love ourselves? Actually, I read this on Monday as I was preparing for these homilies, including the school homily this morning. So the good news is this is going to be short because I didn't write anything. My mind can only hold so much. So I thought, why am I so stressed out about this school homily when what I've got to do is I got to love God? It doesn't matter if the kids love me while I'm talking to them. More important is my love for God. Is it greater than it is to look my love for myself? If so, it's really freeing, no matter what we're struggling with. Most of you aren't preparing school homilies, but I'm sure you have some stress in your lives, whatever it might be. You think, well, I got to do this, I got to get this right. All you have to do is try to please God. It doesn't really matter how we look. If we're pleasing God, that's what matters. This is a little side note. So on to the Beatitudes, our recipe for sainthood. Blessed are the poor in spirit. To be poor in spirit is not a measure of material wealth. To be poor in spirit is to live the spirit of poverty, whether we have things or not. Some of us are kind of well off. Some of us are middle class, getting by. But most of us have a home to go back to, and we have decent clothes to wear. So we're not being asked to throw all that away, but to live the spirit of poverty. To realize the priority, to put things in their proper order. To put people first. Certainly to put God before things. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. And this one, Jesus isn't talking about someone who's shy or timid. He's talking about humility. So meekness is about putting others first. Probably heard me use this definition before, but to be humble isn't to think less of yourself. It's to think of yourself a little bit less. There's a big difference. So the saints didn't put themselves down, they just put others ahead of themselves. It's still a challenge. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. When we see something that's wrong, do we speak up? Do we talk to our neighbor? Do we, like fraternal correction we used to call it in seminary, somebody so probably within your families, you're expected to do that. Not just let somebody go off in the wrong direction, but actually out of love, point them towards Christ. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. I'm talking about this all year. It's the year of mercy. And we know in the Lord's Prayer that we're only going to be forgiven based on how we forgive others. So there's really no good reason not to be generous with mercy. When we hang on to that, we're only hurting ourselves. So-and-so did that to me, I could never forgive them. It doesn't hurt them at all, it hurts us. Because the Lord's going to forgive us based on how we forgive. Why would we ever withhold forgiveness? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Certainly we can find opportunities in our relationships to bring a peaceful presence. Maybe it's somebody we know, or there's an argument going on with two people we care about, or maybe it's just a single person, not just a sole person, one person, doesn't matter if they're single or married, where we can see that they need peace, and we can be that peaceful presence to them. We celebrate All Saints, and the church has been celebrating this for years. Used to be a bigger deal. Unfortunately, our culture has kind of taken over. Businesses would be closed, schools would be closed. So God bless you for coming in at the end of the day for Mass. But we as a church have to still hold this up as a great feast day. The saints are role models for us. They can intercede for us. And someday, hopefully, this will be your feast day.